children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again, and I just wanted to take a minute to talk to you guys about Heroes in Crisis. The new book that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. It's going to be a 7-issue series done by Tom King and Clay Mann. And I wanted to talk to you for a minute about it because despite the title, Heroes in Crisis is not a crisis, okay? Which is really confusing, I know, don't worry. But I've been reading a lot of the articles from a lot of the major like comic book news sites and just regular news sites that are all excited and like all crazy because there's a crisis coming, oh my god. But it's worth mentioning that like what Crisis is about Sanctuary, which is like a place that Tom King has created, which basically helps heroes and I think also maybe villains who have like PTSD and like kind of depression, and basically it's a rehabilitation center for heroes who've been through a lot of stuff, and maybe anti-heroes, not villains, because Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, they're among the main characters, along with Booster Gold, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. So that's definitely an interesting cast of characters for this particular story. Now, again, this is not going to be a crisis. I know a lot of people have been saying that because Booster Gold is involved, that they're thinking there's going to be time travel and some like major continuity shakeups, but I don't really think that that's what this story is intended to do whenever you actually take into account all of the different characters and all the different pieces Tom King has put into play to make this happen. Like clearly his Booster Gold story that he recently did in Batman is definitely a game changer in terms of the character. Because it just ignored everything that's been going on with Booster Gold and his continuity and character development. I also think that like we'll probably see Mr. Miracle in there somewhere. Basically what I'm saying is this isn't going to be a crisis in the sense of like a universe or continuity changing, like in terms of the mass DC universe. It's not going to be that kind of crisis where things get shaken up. It's going to be a character-driven crisis. It's going to be an interpersonal crisis, much more similar to the book Identity Crisis. Identity Crisis is a story in which a lot of character shakeups happen and a lot of changes to the continuity, but not in terms of retconning, just in terms of developing the characters and changing their situations and moving DC into kind of a darker, grittier, kind of more real-world place that would eventually lead them to Final Crisis and then the New 52. So, good job on that one, guys. But, for the people who are like, oh, well, Nerd Scum, it's about time for DC to have a crisis, and like with all the things they've been doing and putting into play, it's gotta be time. No. Guys, that crisis, number one, that crisis that you're thinking of will happen towards the end of Doomsday Clock if all the pieces line up the way that DC has been hoping they're going to, which right now doesn't look like it's the case, but with Jeff Johns like taking a less active role in terms of running the company, hopefully like that book will start coming out faster. But in terms of like, oh, the big crisis that DC is moving towards, like that's down the road, but we literally just had a crisis. They just didn't call it Crisis. They called it Dark Knight's Metal. But it was a crisis in everything but name. And probably the only reason it wasn't called Dark Crisis, like we're told that was the original working title for it, or Dark Crisis in the Dark Universe or Dark Multiverse or something to that effect. Pretty sure the only reason that didn't get used is because Grant Morrison's about to become a much more active part in DC Comics again, and he probably would have thrown a freaking hissy fit. He's like, no, I wrote the last Final Crisis. Yeah, you can't you can't do it. You can't use it. I wrote the Final Crisis. You can't use Crisis. There's no more. It was the final one. You can't do it. So yeah, we recently had a crisis. So this is not going to be a multiverse-changing, DC universe-changing event. This, I believe, is going to play towards Tom King's strengths in terms of dealing with really, really damaged, messed up characters. And again, if you look at the roster of characters, you can see that over the course of his run on Batman and various other titles and other things he's been doing with DC, he's been hinting at and setting up elements for this for a while now. So yeah, I am interested to see what he does with it, because despite the fact that I have mixed feelings on his Batman run, which yes guys, the wedding is fast approaching, and don't worry, my video on my just like thoughts on Tom King's Batman will be coming out right around that time. I'm a big fan of Mr. Miracle, despite the fact that Tom King pretty much just like rebooted his personality and character, which is why if you go back and watch my video on the first issue of Mr. Miracle, I really don't know what to think, because it's a good book, but it kind of, I thought it was out of continuity, which made it a little easier, but now it's very clearly in continuity, so that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, if you look at what Tom King's been doing in those books and you kind of extrapolate that into what he could do with these characters in terms of this story, I don't know how it will mesh with what's going on in DC continuity right now, because Tom King does not give a crap. He gives absolutely zero craps about what other people are doing and what DC as a company is doing. He's just going to do what he's going to do, and they seem to be supporting him because it sells books. So it'll probably end up being one of those where, like, it might not be great in terms of everything that's going on in DC now, but I imagine that like 5-10 years down the road, if you just read it on its own, it'd probably be a really awesome, cool book. So anyway, yeah, like, I'm excited for it. Don't really know what's going to come of it. I'm interested to see what goes on, but just keep in mind that this is not a crisis. It is a crisis because it's superheroes in crisis, as in like mental, emotional crisis, but it's not a crisis. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, just keep that in mind, because when you read all the articles, a lot of them focus on that and how exciting that is. And yes, it's kind of exciting because this is a cool concept and idea for a book, but it's not like the big, awesome, like DC event that everybody's waiting on. Like, no, it's just going to be a cool book, I think. Now, you know what? I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It happens from time to time. So, you know, maybe Booster Gold will go time traveling, and maybe we will see an actual, like, Crisis in Time style event come out of this. I don't think so, but, you know, that could be cool, because what Tom King did with Booster Gold's time travel in his Batman title recently was cool, right? Right? It was cool. Right on, guys. That's all I got for you for today. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you excited for Heroes in Crisis? Were you under the impression it was going to be a Crisis event? Do you still think it's going to be a Crisis event? Or do you think it's going to be a more character-focused kind of deep dive into, like, the twisted nature of what being a hero does to somebody? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. That's more important now than ever with everything YouTube's changing up on small YouTubers like myself. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get updates on all the dope content I'll have coming out in the future. Thank you again, children of the screen. I hope you all have a good one. Nerd Scum, out. Oh yeah, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The link is in the description below. Later.